Well, welcome back to In the Dugout. Dr. Andrew Bernstein. Now, he is an objectivist, a follower of Ayn Rand's philosophy, the author of Atlas Shrugged and Fountainhead and Anthem and others. He's been on our show before talking about the horrid state of education of this country. Today, I'm going to have a little bit of a abortion debate or discussion with him. Now, this is not going to be your typical abortion debate. There's clearly some things we don't agree with here, but I think there's going to be a lot of things we do agree with here. Normally abortion is an issue where a conservative will debate a progressive liberal, and you get those points of views. Well, here you're going to have a conservative and me debating an objectivist. Now, what is an objectivist? Well, we're going to find out. What I also think you're going to learn in this upcoming interview with Andy Bernstein coming up at the bottom of the hour is that it's the left who holds the really radical and non-mainstream views on abortion, and not we conservatives on the right. And it's still stunning to me how Republican candidates get tripped up by this issue when they are actually they represent the conservative view, not the extreme pro-life view, but the conservative view that allows for limited choice up with many limitations, is actually the mainstream view. And the Democrats' view, the liberal view, is actually the one that's out of the mainstream, yet stupid candidates, conservative candidates, Republican candidates don't know how to capitalize on that. So I want you to think about that I won't discuss that. I don't think we'll have time to discuss that with Andy today, but I want you to think about that as you watch that interview. Why do Republicans and conservatives continually lose the public debate on the issue of abortion when it's really the left, the Democrats, the liberals, the progressives who hold the non-mainstream and extreme views on the issue? I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. So let's have Andy the Annihilator, our new producer, just hired last week by the car. Andy Annihilator. Let's see Andy Bernstein. Okay, so shifting gears, one of the hot topics for decades, one of the hot topics of the last election was the question of abortion. And it's not a woman's right to choose and a baby's right to life and all that. And it's an issue we've not weighed heavily in as far as the core argument there. We've always weighed in on the constitutionality of Roe versus Wade, whether it's a federal issue or a state's issue. We've weighed in on some of the ancillary issues. Should taxpayers fund it as is being proposed in Rhode Island? Should parents of minors be aware if their daughter wants such? Should there be late term or partial birth? We've pretty much avoided the core issue, but today we're going to dig into that a little bit. And to do so, we're going to bring back an old friend. And I think this is going to be a very interesting argument, because most debates over abortion and abortion-related issues happen between conservatives and liberals. Well, in this case, we're going to have one between a conservative and an objectivist. What is an objectivist? Let's find out very soon. Let's welcome back to In the Dugout Dr. Andrew Bernstein. Andy, welcome back to In the Dugout.
It's great to be back, Mike. Always good to talk to you.
Now, you're a Brooklyn boy, and you still got that damn New York Yankees hat on.
Yes. Well, I've been a Yankee fan going back to the days of Mantle and Maris, the M&M boys. So, yeah, I don't think that's going to change now.
Wait a minute. Should I get out my Red Sox ring here? There we go. Let me put my Red Sox ring on for this debate. All right, okay. Here we go.
All right, sure.
I had to counter that Yankees hat somehow. Okay. All right, Andy, you wrote a book very recently, right? And here it is. It's called A Philosophic Basis of a Woman's Right to Abortion. Interesting you use that language, right to abortion, not right to choose. Tell us about that language and tell us about your book.
Well, I think the key issue in the abortion debate that often is overlooked is, at what point does the fetus become a human being? What does it mean to be a human being? And we need a theory of human nature here. And my claim is that part of human personhood is to be organically developed, biologically independent individual, which means that the fetus's heart is developed to the point where it pumps blood through the fetus's body, not the mother's heart. The fetus's lungs respirate for the fetus, not the mother's lungs. The fetus's brain control life support
So
functions.
the quick question to you is when it basically is viability, basically?
Viability, meaning biological independence.
Okay. Before we get back into that, I just wanted you to state the premise, but let's take a step back and let's talk about objectivism. Okay, you are an objectivist, right? You grew up, you said, in Brooklyn. You have a PhD in philosophy. You've written many books. In fact, we had you on recently about a book you wrote, Why Johnny Still Can't Read, and maybe we'll get to that, about how public education is purposely trying to destroy our children. We'll get back to that. But you are an objectivist. You used to work for the Ayn Rand Institute. I'm a conservative. I would say objectivism is closer to libertarianism, but how would you define what an objectivist is, Andy Bernstein?
Sure. Well, of course, I'm sure many of you know Ayn Rand as the author of great novels like The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, and she created an entire philosophic system she called objectivism. And what that means simply, I think, is commitment to reason as opposed to emotionalism or faith as the means of gaining knowledge. Commitment to egoism, meaning the person should pursue his or her own values and not sacrifice them, but by honest effort and hard work, not by victimizing innocent others. In politics, the principle of individual rights, that your life belongs to you, does not belong to the state. And the proper government must protect the right of an individual to pursue his own life, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as Thomas Jefferson put it very, very nicely. Those are the core reason, egoism, individual rights. Those are the core principles.
Egoism. Now, that's a word that comes with bad connotations, but
Yes.
It's not necessarily bad. Tell us what you mean by what does an objectivist mean when he says the word egoism?
Yeah, what it's conventionally what it means in everyday sense is that you'll do anything necessary to get what you want, including step all over innocent people and victimize them. That's not what objectivism means. Objectivism means hold values that are appropriate to given human nature, given the facts, the requirements of human life. Values that actually promote human life, like an education, a productive career, friendship with honest persons, love with an honest man or woman. And then never sacrifice those values. Work hard and honestly, not victimizing others, but work hard and honestly to pursue those values and never surrender them.
All right. Now, would you say that objectivism places a premium on individual rights and that people should act what's in their own best interest? And as you correctly pointed out, as long as it doesn't infringe on anybody else's best interests, right? That most,
right.
And it's basically an admission that that's human nature, right? That most people will want to act in their own best interests, right?
Yeah, that's why the immigration patterns run to the United States and not from it. People come here pursuing freedom because freedom means they can pursue their own values. They can pursue their own happiness. That's absolutely right. As long as you're not a criminal, as long as you do not initiate force or fraud against some innocent person, you're free to act as you will and you'll pursue your own happiness.
Before we get to the abortion, your book and the abortion debate, I want to just get a few more questions here on objectivism. So I would say, from what I know, and by the way, I've had a couple board members who are open objectivists, and they've taught me quite a bit about it. And I think it's very interesting. Of course, I love the Ayn Rand books. I think Howard Rourke is even my favorite character of everything I read. The Architect.
Me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But clearly there's a premium on, when you say egoism, I would interpret it saying there's clearly a focus from an objectivist point of view on individual rights, individual freedoms, almost not to the detriment of the larger community, but almost, would you say, almost to the exclusion of community concerns that, look, that's not your concern. You don't want to hurt anyone else. You don't want to hurt the community, but you're really making decisions in your own best interest. How would you say an objectivist would balance individual versus community?
Well, first of all, the key principle is never to sacrifice what
Right.
you want out of life for others. But at the same time, we recognize that rational human beings act in such a way that promote the lives of others every day. I mean, for instance, I'm a college professor. If I go in and do my job to the best of my ability, earn my money, have the pride, that my students benefit enormously. And people who love my students benefit, their parents, their families, from them getting an education. In any productive career, butcher, baker, candlestick maker, you do your job to the best of your ability, earn your money, have pride in your work, and your customers, your students, your patients, if you're a doctor, are
From
going to
that.
benefit. You're going to benefit.
You know what? You know what popped into my mind is an analogy I use often when I talk about politics and business is baseball. Right now, think of a baseball player. He's out to do the best he can, hit for the highest average, hit the most home runs, play the best defense, strike out the most opposing batters, whatever it is. And by pursuing what's best for him as best he can, you're helping the team.
Absolutely. Right.
So it's the same idea, right? By
Yeah.
working hard, by living a moral life, you're in other words helping your community.
Absolutely, absolutely right. Let me make one more point on this, Mike. The single most important aspect of being a human being is moral character. Your character. If you're honest and upright and you take responsibility for your own life, you can have pride in yourself. And if you do those things, other people are going to benefit enormously. They're going to be able to trust you. They're going to be able to have close relationships with you because they know you're a morally upright, trustworthy human being. And we harm other people or we wrong them. You can harm somebody by being upright, morally upright. My mother didn't want me to marry my girlfriend. When I did marry her, it hurt her, but I didn't wrong her. It was the right thing to do.
Right.
But we wrong others, not by our strength of character, but by moral weakness. We wrong others if we're dishonest, irresponsible, and so forth.
All right, I got it. Now we're probably not going to quite agree on this one because I think, look, there's a rightful part of it, and then there's a deeper part of it. Clearly, objectivists, at least as far as I know, believe that religious institutions have become as corrupting as governmental institutions have come, and therefore I would say most objectives are kind of atheist or agnostic or certainly anti-religious institutions. I don't anti is the right word, but all right, so just basically I want to get to my next one, but basically agree with that.
Well, yeah, well, I think objectivists, if they're objectivists, they're committed to reason as a means of gaining knowledge and faith,
Not spirituality or faith,
regard
like
faith-based beliefs as harmful.
All right, now, but I have noticed that most objectivists do have a disdain towards religion, and I would argue this: you talk about a moral compass, and Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, or no, one of her smaller books I read. Just imagine you're a virgin adult, you just got plopped onto earth, nothing, that every person has a moral compass and they're going to act according to the moral compass. I'm going to disagree with that. I don't think most people have put the thought into developing and thinking about their own moral compass. And then I would say there are others who don't have the strength of character, like you said earlier, to never deviate from your own values and moral compass. And I would argue then that religion, and while religious institutions certainly have become corrupt, look, I'm a Catholic. Our Catholic Church is corrupt as it comes, for all the reasons people know. But I believe that religion has played an important role in keeping people on a moral compass who either have never thought about it or might be weak to vary away. And religion is kept. So I actually think religion is your best friend. Not so much religious institute, but I think religion has helped to instill a moral compass, and that moral compass leads to more prosperous and civilized societies. Your thoughts on my theory?
Well, I disagree. I respectfully disagree, Mike. I think religion and faith-based beliefs is one of the problems, is one of the problems of human immorality. I mean, faith-based beliefs lead people to violence all the time, burn people at the stake, jihad against, Western society and so forth. We need it.
But aren't those the extremes? There's always radicals in every movement. Weren't those the extremes? I'm talking about the masses. I'm talking about when it comes to the moral code of the masses. Do you not think religion has had a positive hand in all that?
No, I think religion is
Okay.
harmful,
All right.
to human morality. We need a rational code of morality that's grounded in the facts of human life and survival requirements, not faith-based beliefs. That
All right, so let's go back to your book. All right, I just want to get that sort of as a backdrop so people would understand where you and I might be coming from that's the same or different. All right, a woman's right to an abortion. Why did you not call it a woman's right to choose?
Because I don't want to be associated with the leftists. The leftists use that terminology, and it's appropriate to them, although it's profoundly mistaken. They don't care if I've had this debate with leftists over and over again. They don't care if the fetus has reached human personhood and is a human being. They don't care if it's murder. What they care about is the woman's subjective experience. So it's her choice. And my claim is it's her choice if and only if the fetus is not yet a human being. Because if the fetus has developed human person, and I think it has by the third trimester, then abortion is murder, and nobody could be granted the right to murder.
Wow. All right. So by saying that, you're let me paraphrase, correct me if I'm wrong. By saying that, you're basically making the claim that until a baby is viable, that it's a woman's body and it's totally her right, and by extension her choice. Clearly enough, right?
Correct.
But at some point, you're also saying that the baby reaches a point where it has some rights too.
Yes. When you reach human personhood by the third trimester, yes, I think you can make a strong rational case that you have achieved the criteria for being a human person, and organic development, the capacity for independent biological life, that this is a human being, and it's too late to abort at this point. Abortion at this point is
We're at that point, there are two people involved here, so it's not just a woman's body. We have we have a baby's body to consider in the debate as well, right?
Yeah, that's my thinking on this. Yes.
Okay, so let's go back to the first part of that. So again, the women's right to an abortion, forgetting the viability of the baby part of it, just talk about an objectivist view on a person's sovereignty over their own body from an objectivist point of view.
Right.
Like that could relate to vaccine mandates, all kinds of things, right? Stuff like that. So talk about your views on the sovereignty of a person over their own body.
Right. No, I think the principle of individual rights, which Ayn Rand upheld and I do as well, means your life belongs to you, which means your body belongs to you, and consequently, prior to the biological independence of the fetus, a woman has the right to choose between abortion and motherhood. Individual has the right to choose whether they're going to take a vaccine or not. The government has no moral authority to force that on human beings. And I think also related to that, Mike, most fundamentally of all is the right to your own mind, your own thinking, and to express what you think freely. It's terrifying to me. The scariest thing in the United States today is the leftists' desire to suppress freedom of speech. That because that's freedom of the mind, and it's sacred. Yes. And James Madison wrote it right into the first
step away from thought police. Exactly.
Yeah, we're moving. The leftists. I disagree with the conservatives on this, that, or the other things, but the leftists are pushing us towards Orwell's 1984. Thought control, thought crimes is terrifying. I mean, freedom of speech.
Orwell and Rand know each other? I
don't know.
Because there's a lot of parallels there, right?
Yeah, 1984 is a great book. He published it in the late 40s. 1949, I think he published it. I don't know if he had read Ayn Rand's earlier books, We the Living Anthem or The Fountainhead, which had already been published by that time. He was English. Rand was a Russian emigre to America. I don't know if I don't think they'd ever met, but I don't know if Orwell had read Ayn Rand's earlier
there's
books.
A lot of parallels there. I'm wondering if one borrowed from another. All right, I want to go to a related issue. End of life, assisted suicide. Or suicide. A, is it moral, according to objectivist code, to take your own life if you have complete control? And B, is it proper or moral or just for the government to assist in that?
Before I answer that, Mike, I want to point out, objectivism is a philosophic system, so it deals with philosophic issues. What's the nature of the universe? How do human beings gain knowledge? What is human nature? What is the moral good? What is the good society? No philosophy deals with specific topical issues like that.
Yep.
But you can apply any philosophy,
Okay.
Christianity.
Take a
objectivism,
crack at it then. Apply it then.
apply it. Well, I think if your life belongs to you, then I think the terms of your death also can be decided by you. If somebody, life is worth living, as they say. So I would try to reason with some good person not to commit suicide, but at the same time, I'm not the judge of how much suffering some other human being should have to take. And
I guess my
that
question
person-
is, should the government be the judge? Should the government
Nah,
say,
no.
should the government either help you or say it's legal to, because there's a lot of things, right? Life insurance policies depend on it if you commit suicide and all that. So should the government authorize self-taking of life or others to help someone take their life, or should they just stay the hell out of it?
Well, I think it should be legal, for an adult to make that choice. And remember Dr. Kevorkian,
Yes.
and to be able to hire or bring in a doctor, physician-assisted suicide, as they call it, to help him or her, end life painlessly. I think that's the moral right of an individual. So the government should protect that right. Yes. They don't want the government. They don't want the government making the decisions on who lives and who dies.
Well,
that's for sure.
Well, they essentially almost are now, because we've read many stories. Certainly, it's happening in Canada. Certainly, we're hearing that it's happening when the government denies medical care when people either reach a certain age or a certain level of illness. That's almost like helping them die, in a sense.
Yeah, that's the danger.
It's the toughest question. I think it's the toughest moral question we face, is how much money, effort do you spend on end of life care? I don't know the answer to it. Is there an application from the objectivist point of view on that?
Well, I would say, I'm speaking only for myself on any of these applied issues, but I would think in a free society, somebody has the right to all the medical care that they can afford, and/or voluntarily convince others to contribute. Yep. So, like today there were GoFundMe, for example. They in a free country, there'll be charitable organizations devoted to education, devoted to medical care, and so on and so forth. So I think people can raise money by private voluntary charity to afford various medical procedures. One of the dangers of socialized medicine is that the government gets to make these decisions, and the tax rate is so high to fund the socialist medical state that people have less disposable income to spend on their own medical care and/or to put into voluntary charity.
All right, so let's go back to abortion, and let me just ask you directly your views, obviously your view on. So while again, we'll restate, while you claim it's the woman's right to her own body before to do what she wants before a baby is viable, do you agree with so third trimester or even partial birth abortions?
No.
Okay.
No, first of all, there's no, the research I've done on this, speaking to doctors and biologists and everything, there's no medical reason for third trimester abortions. To abort at that stage, the doctors tell me, is as dangerous to a woman's life as carrying to term and
even if there's some problems with the pregnancy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Two, do you believe in taxpayer funding of abortion, either through Medicaid or being required, as is being, both of these being proposed in Rhode Island right now, has been required for public employee health insurance programs to cover?
No, I mean, taxation is putting a gun to somebody's head and taking their money by force. It's immoral to force somebody, especially somebody who disagrees with abortion on moral or religious grounds, to force them to finance some policy that they consider immoral, or they consider even murder. So a woman who wants to have an abortion prior to viability, can finance it herself or from her friends and family, or through voluntary medical charity.
Terry, yeah, and I look at the argument in the 2018 Janus decision about forced dues paying to public unions for public employees. The Supreme Court said no person should be forced to spend money to support, because they rule that everything a union does is political, to support a political agenda that is antithetical to their own beliefs. It's hard for me to imagine that public funding of abortions would survive that constitutional test, because like you just said, you would be putting a gun to other taxpayers to pay for an abortion that they would strongly object to on religious, personal, or medical or moral grounds. I mean,
Absolutely,
it seems to
right.
me to be the same constitutional argument. What do you think?
No, I agree. Shouldn't be forcing, the government shouldn't be forcing people in the first place. Certainly not to force them to finance some policy that they regard as immoral, unjust, or even murderous. And by the way, we should point out the role of the father here. If dad, the father of the fetus here, if he agrees with mom's choice to abort, well, he's financially responsible as well. I mean, he's made love to his girlfriend or wife. The baby is his. So he's financially responsible. The taxpayers aren't, but the father is.
Good point. Very good point. And I want to get back to religious morals there, but one more last kind of checkbox question. When it comes to minor girls under the age of consent who get pregnant and want to have an abortion, should a judge be able to rule that they can have one without notifying their parents?
No, that's horrifying. Yeah, you're dealing with a minor child. Mom and dad have every right to know, what their daughter, in a different case, their son is doing, but in this case, what their daughter is doing. When she gets to be 18, then she's a legal adult. That's another matter. She's free to make her decisions on her own. But if she's 16 or 17-year-old kid and she's a minor, no, the mom and dad have every right to know. It's crazy to try and keep, to keep
in the same way they shouldn't be allowed to keep whether their son or daughter wants to detransition or use certain pronouns. All of this affects the medical and emotional health of their child. Same argument there.
Yeah, absolutely right.
You're
dealing with minor children. Mom and dad are responsible for their children. The government's not responsible for them. Mom and dad are responsible, and they need to know. They need to have all this information. It's heinous to keep mom and dad out of the loop regarding what is going on with their own child, with their own minor child.
All right. So in the objectivist philosophy, I can't think of anything. I mean, because I wasn't looking for this specifically, because it focuses so much on individual freedom and rights and autonomy. How is the family viewed? Family obligations? How is the family viewed from, whether it's the nuclear family, which is just the immediate family, or the more traditional family, which includes, brothers, uncles, and things like, uncles and aunts and nephews and things like that, grandparents. How does objectivists look at family and obligations to a family?
Well, again, that's an applied issue. Philosophy doesn't deal with questions that specific, but you can apply any philosophy to that kind of question. And notice there are millions and millions and millions of human beings, including objectivists, who want to get married, who strongly believe in romantic love, who want marriage, who want children, and then you raise you rear a family. So it's about values. If you marry someone, there are certain commitments that come with it, including sexual fidelity and treating. I just saw something the other day, Mike, that I really liked. About why gentlemen do things for a woman, open doors, or carry stuff for her, and it was really great. It said, men don't do things for women. For a woman, a man doesn't do something for a woman because she's weak. He does things for her because she's important. you know, and I really like that, you know, and so
I do too.
yeah, you treat your wife or any woman, a gentleman treats his wife or any woman with great respect, and a woman's got to, you know, treat her husband with,
I
you know,
think
with,
everybody's important. I know I've been criticized for that. You know, I've opened a door or offered to hang up a coat once for somebody and I got scolded.
yeah,
What? You don't think I could do this on my own? I'm like, wait a minute, are you
I know,
serious?
I
I mean,
know,
I got scolded in my workplace in front of people
yeah, me too.
by someone once when I offered to hang up her raincoat when we came in from getting a
I,
coffee next door.
I know, me
I'm
too.
like, are you kidding me?
That is so paternalistic. She says to me, you know, that's
Right.
a feminist mentality. But most
Well,
women,
it
I
is,
think,
it is.
most women today, I think, still appreciate, you know, gentlemen, and, doing things.
That's all it is. It's an act
Yeah.
of kindness. It's nothing, like he said. It's
Well,
nothing else. All right.
yeah, but you know, Ayan here, C. Ali said when her family visited Europe when she was a child, and somebody opened the door and said, "Ladies first." She said, "Ladies first." You know, that's not the way women are treated under Islam. She said, "I fell in love with Western civilization right then." You know, when I heard that expression. But let me make one point about family. If you choose to bring children into the world, then you're responsible for those children. Your child deserves your quality time, love, financial support, moral training, an education. You know, you have responsibilities to the children that you choose to bring into the world.
You know, as I think more about it now, you know, in reading Atlas Shrugged and in the Fountainhead with Howard Rourke and John Galt and Atlas Shrugged, and even I can't remember Reardon and Atlas Shrugged, but certainly Darcy, on at least that I recall, none of them had full families with children. You know, it was all them as independent human beings making decisions based on, you know, like we said, on their independent well-being. So is there any of Ayn Rand's books where the central character is part of an active traditional family unit?
In Anthem, the hero and heroine break free of a collective estate, and they marry, and they plan on having children. But you know, Ayn Rand chose not to have children. It's interesting because she was devoted to her writing, and she realized that she said if she had a child, you know, the child has every right to demand all kinds of, you know, quality time from her. So it's interesting. Sometimes the most responsible people who would be the best parents choose not to have children.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, many objectives.
It's interesting to see an
have
Ayn Rand character in the context of a family. Just curious to see how those interdynamics work out. All right, let's just spend 2 more minutes on your prior book. We talked about, look, we've had you on 2 or 3 times. We've talked mostly about education. Your last book, Why Johnny Still Can't Read or Write or do math or whatever. There it is, right there.
There it is.
And I assume you can still get that on Amazon, right? Just
like,
oh
yeah, Amazon sells all books. Yes.
Now this current book's a very short book, right? Your Woman's
Right
to
it's really
very short, right?
It's really an essay that has been published as a Kindle book on Amazon.
$1 on Kindle. Look at that,
yes.
$1. So, all right. But we've learned so much more about this critical race theory, the over-sexualization, the transgenderism that's being openly taught and pushed in our schools. I'll give you the final comment today before we wrap up the show, just on the state of public education in America.
It's public indoctrination, not education. You know, some school districts are better than others, Mike. There's still a lot of good classroom teachers, but they have to fight against the stifling bureaucracy. The government schools, for the most part, and a lot of the private schools too, are concerned to ram leftist propaganda down the throats of kids. You know, man-made warming's destroying the planet, communism superior to capitalism. You know, there's dozens of genders, and we could be any gender we choose, and you know, and it's just vicious leftist insanity, and they don't want the kids, and they haven't for 100 years now, going back to John Dewey and the progressives. They don't want the kids to read well, to write well, to know math, history, science, because the political goal is socialism. I think today it's outright communism.
You think it's on purpose?
Oh, it's absolutely done on purpose. You couldn't mess up the school system this bad, you know, unintentionally. They don't want the kids to read well. That's why they've rejected phonics, you know, for all this time. And the reason is, if you have people who read and read well and think effectively, they may challenge the wise rulers of the socialist state. Yeah, they
can't have that.
No, we
Can't have
can't
it
have
all.
that. We want conformity to the masses and obedience to the state. That's the goal, to inculcate the kids with that. And it's, by the way, Dewey and those guys 100 years ago pilgrimage to the Soviet Union under Stalin to find the school system that they want to build in America.
Sounds pretty right on to me. He is Andy Bernstein with a New York Yankees hat. I am, and we thank you for being on our In the Dugout show. I am Mike Stenhouse, countering with the Red Sox ring and the Rhode Island hat. We thank you, our fans, for tuning in today. Check back soon your listings for upcoming In the Dugout podcasts. Thank you for joining us today. See you next game.